Simply Tammy.
It's a blessing that I'm here, I'm alive. No, I never ever have to cry, cause it's something I know will always work for me on my side. Not a thing I even have to fight, All things work together for my good. Life speaks if you listen, it might be sound. Watch the love come alive. Sharing the truth that inspires, Sharing the truth that inspires, Sharing the truth that inspires. All things work together for my good. Life speaks if you listen, it might be sound. Watch the joy come alive, watch the joy come alive. Sharing the truth that inspires.
Inspired to love, inspired to grow, inspired to heal, inspired to live. Simply Tammy.
Hello, and welcome. It is Simply Tammy, and I am extremely excited to officially welcome you to the Simply Tammy Show. So we are in studio, and I am not only excited for this launch, I'm excited because this is the first official taping, and I have a very, very special guest with me here tonight. So without further ado, I am going to welcome to the Simply Tammy Show tonight, Pastor Sean Dogan.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I am wonderful. Now, I have to admit, I have been practicing saying Pastor Dogan.
Well, whatever comes out naturally is fine.
Because I have known you for an extremely long time. Yes. And as I stated in the welcome, I am so honored to have you here with me tonight. You are not only the pastor of Long Branch Baptist Church for over 25 years now, right?
Yes.
You are also a great impact leader in the community. So I want to kind of go back a little bit. Tell me, who was Sean before he became Pastor Sean Dogan that we know today?
Wow. Well, first of all, I think I'm more excited than you are. And you've always just been consistent and have just been wonderful and such a positive person.
Thank you.
So I think Sean Dogan, before Pastor Sean Dogan, was an individual who grew up in Crosby Circle. Went to Piedmont Manor Baptist Church, and that's where we grew up together at. Heard the call of ministry at an early age, but has always loved people, loved church. Church is one of the things that I know, and is deep down on the inside of me. And a person who is a son, who's a husband, who's a father, who's a brother, before we get to kind of the Pastor Dogan.
Right.
So that's Sean.
Right. So two things I want to say. I'm glad that you brought up, and I said we've known each other a long time. We did grow up together in church, and as I was kind of thinking about our time together tonight, I was like, before the term was really popular, I think Sean was probably my first youth pastor. Because I remember you leading our youth group in the church we grew up in, and I remember, I don't know where we went. We went on a trip one year.
Okay.
And I remember you had invited, it was like a weekend trip, because I think that Sunday morning you had invited a young man who was also a minister. Okay. Do you remember that? We went somewhere. I know it was a chartered bus and everything. Sure. And what stuck out to me about the trip, not only, that it was our youth group going on the trip, the young man who ministered to us that Sunday morning, because I think we were at a hotel and we were in the conference room in the hotel. He was probably our same age, and the topic of his message was the deity of God. And I'm like, wow. We are teenagers. What are you talking about?
That's
we
right.
don't know what you're talking about. But as long as I remember, you have been working in ministry in some capacity. So you said you heard the call of God at a young age. So, you know, we know the story in the Bible of Samuel and Eli and him hearing God speak to him. So what was that like for you when you say you heard the call of God? Yeah. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, so the first time, I don't remember it as vividly as I do later on. Mm-hmm. So it is told to me, and I remember telling my mother in the car that God wants me to preach. And, you know, it was kind of dismissed at that time. I think I was maybe around 5 or 6 years old. Wow. But then later on, it was through our good friend, 𝘓𝘪𝘧𝘦 Johnson, saying no to a youth day event that she was asked to speak at 𝘓𝘓𝘧𝘦 𝘚𝘱𝘕, and she had said yes in the beginning, backed out, and so they needed a person. I think I was a ram in the bush. And it was through that preparation of that message that I knew something was going on. Okay. And then I started seeing visions. Like when I would go to bed at night, I would see, I could look up at the ceiling and I could literally see like myself preaching. And I could see, I knew it was in a church, I didn't know where, but I just kept having that over and over. Kept kind of quiet about that, but knew I needed to share that. So shared that. And of course, one of our role models in life, Pastor Sylvester Golden, shared that with him. I'd spoken at 𝘓𝘓𝘧𝘦 𝘚𝘱𝘕, was invited to preach or speak different places. And I remember him telling me, okay, son, you know, you got to stop going around preaching. We got to license you to preach. And that's what happened. Wow. July 28th of 1991.
Wow. Yeah. And how old were you then? Because I know you
I was 14.
Wow.
Yeah, 14. I hadn't even turned 15 yet.
Okay. Yeah. So did you understand the weight of being licensed at 14 years old?
Absolutely not. I spoke December of 1990. That was for the youth day. And I was asked to speak in different places. I was just going to speak. You know, it's funny. I don't feel like I had much to say, so the messages were very short. You know, maybe 7 to 10 minutes. And it's funny because I think my messages today are not long. Okay. And I think that's just probably just a pattern. I have a little bit more to say now, but then it was just something that I would read the scripture. I didn't have the lived experience. I didn't have the examples to talk about. And then too, I didn't have kind of this past world of sin to really talk about. And
I've been through the fire.
Yeah, I've been through the fire. I mean, I hadn't gone through the fire. So I could only preach what the text said. I could only do my best to explain what I had read and studied. So that's how it was then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with you bringing out, okay, you're licensed at 14, you're going around speaking, but your messages were short because you did not have the lived experiences or testimonies. What is your viewpoint now on someone who may be 10 or 12 and feel that there is a calling? What would you say to them based off your lived experiences now? So
I think I would say more to the adults that are trying to help that young person navigate. I would say to them, let them express themselves. And let them express themselves in the way that they know to express themselves. So at 10, 12, 15, probably even young adult, you only utilize styles that you see. Right. So you can only mimic what you see because you think that is the way to do it. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as a person matures, develops, they'll get their own style. And their style may not necessarily be the same style of their faith leader or their Sunday school teacher. But it all comes together and they will figure it out. Right. So I would tell that person, 1, you'll figure it out. 2, don't try to tell it all at one time. Right. And then 3, to those individuals that's helping them navigate, let them develop. Guide them, pray with them, support them, but let them develop.
So being licensed at 14, being used in ministry to go to speak in various places, what was the process from being Minister Sean Dogan to then eventually becoming Pastor Sean Dogan?
Yeah. You know, most things in my life has taken place. It's by divine providence, but the way I would even describe it in a very loose way is by accident. And I know there's no accident, so don't rate me. Don't write simply Tammy. Don't write her and tell her that
divine providence is the perfect word to use in this space, because that's what Life Speaks is about. Yeah.
However, when I was asked to be at Lone Branch, it was actually because Dr. 𝘓𝘓𝘧𝘦 𝘚𝘱𝘦, who was the former pastor, would have me come to preach when he would be on vacation.
Okay.
And when he accepted Ebenezer, the church that he is at now, he and the board were discussing transition. And he said, listen, consider Sean Dogan until you all find someone.
Wow.
And so they called me, and I went. And I accepted what we used to call interim, or until they found someone.
Right.
So the running joke is that they hadn't found anybody yet, and it's been almost 26 years, and they hadn't found anybody yet. I say that when I say divine providence, and then in my term that I probably shouldn't use, is the other word, accident, is I was interim, stayed at Lone Branch. Then I was asked by the Urban League of the Upstate to come and serve as interim president, and we thought it would take about 6 months, and it ended up being 2 years. So God has a sense of humor when it comes to my life, to start something with one way or one title, but brings a level of stability and permanency to it. So I think that's just how God works. And that's how he's worked in my life.
Yes. So when you think about the word purpose, because we know ministry, sometimes you may be tagged as a person to do a thing because you speak well, you present well. So we think you're called, we're going to give you a license. But then getting into an office of pastor. So when you hear purpose, what does that word mean to you as a pastor?
Yeah. So purpose to me means the ability to walk in the will of God despite any past mistakes, any past experiences. And God has graced you and covered you to be successful in that particular area. Purpose to me is also the willingness to study and prepare yourself, to do the things that God has destined you to do.
Right.
So it's not something, purpose is not something that you do as a hobby. Right? Like purpose is something that you say, okay, I'm just going to dedicate my life to this.
Wow.
Or dedicate my mind to this, or dedicate my hands to this, or dedicate my voice to this. In pastoring for me, it is not just the teaching and the preaching. It is literally the loving people and wanting to see people develop into what God has called them to be. Yeah.
So then, because you don't just pastor, you are hands-on in the community a lot. That to me then goes beyond purpose to passion. So when we think about what is Sean Dogan's passion, how would you describe that?
Yeah. So Sean Dogan's passion is, one, to make 𝘓𝘓𝘧𝘦 the happiest woman in the world. To do my best.
𝘓𝘓𝘧𝘓𝘧 is his beautiful wife.
𝘓𝘓𝘧 is my wife. To be a pillar of stability for Ramaya, who is my daughter, our daughter. And God has graced us to have influence over 2 other young ladies that we had the ability to, or had the opportunity to help raise, Nashia and Terry. And to do my best to live that which I teach and preach.
Yes.
And as I say every week, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. So therefore, I'm not going to teach people how to follow after me, but I'm going to teach them how to follow after God, and we're going to follow Him together.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that's the passion.
Absolutely.
The passion really is to love my family.
Yes.
And to love people.
Yes.
So that's it.
Yes. So as with anything that we are called to do or that we set out to do, there are pain points along the way. So whether in ministry, whether in community, whether in family life, what have been some of the pain points or challenges that you've had to overcome with the help of God?
Yeah. So one of the most painful, I have several painful moments, but one of them that concerns ministry was the public rumors of a relationship between me and a spiritual father. And it was painful because he was my father and I was his son in ministry. And to hear people utilize that relationship in something that it was not, was painful.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't painful for me because of a rumor. It was painful because I know that the people who truly love me had to go through that.
Oh, wow.
And so it was painful. I remember asking my wife, her, does any of this bother you? And when she told me no, it didn't, I was like, okay. Friends who wanted to take matters in their own hands and be combative and things of that nature.
Go handle some business.
Go handle some business. Or at least tell people off.
Right, right.
At least tell people off. Those were painful moments. And it was painful because we built ministry together.
Right.
And so that was painful. And
Absolutely.
However, God brings so much out of your pain. He brings so much out of your pain. I remember our church growing
Wow.
astronomically even during that time. I remember us going to multiple services and some things I'm sure we'll talk about later. But I remember God really showing that don't be distracted. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'll take care of it. And the Lord really will fight your battles. He really, really will.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for it.
Yes, yes. Hey, just for a moment, I wanted to interrupt you. So no, the video has not messed up. This is an intentional interruption. Just for me first to say thank you, because if you've gotten to this point, that means you're still watching this interview and hopefully you're hearing some things that are helping you, encouraging you, inspiring you. But I thank you for taking the time to listen, to get to know some of these amazing people, and to be encouraged and inspired by their stories. Second of all, I want to give you an opportunity to partner with me. If there is something that you think you can offer to this platform, either hands-on if you're local to the Greenville area, if you know some guests that you think I should interview, or if you see the transitions that we've gone through from when I started with Women Who Win and now doing this in my own space, and you say, I want to support that vision, I want to give to it, we welcome any type of support that you have to give. We also are going to have opportunities for organizations and businesses. You don't have to be local to Greenville, but we can spotlight you during our show segments. If any of that sounds interesting to you and you want to participate, shoot me an email. I'm going to put the email address on the screen, and I want to give you all of the information on how you can partner and connect so that we can keep bringing these people before you, sharing their amazing stories, offering them a safe space to share their journeys, and to also help encourage you along yours. So thank you again for listening, and now back to this interview. So you mentioned your beautiful wife. How long have you guys been married?
So we've been married 25, almost 26 years as well.
Oh, 25. Yeah. So she has been with you
every
along
step
this
of the
journey.
way. Every step of the way.
So we don't like to, a lot of people don't like to use the word balance, but I have a a teacher that's in my life, a Bible teacher, that described balance one time that has really changed the way I look at the word. Because you can't have balance without the presence of tension somewhere. So when you are as present as you are with your church and in your community, how have you kept the love alive and the fire alive in your marriage for 25 years?
Yeah. So we work really hard, but we play really hard. We love to travel. We love to spend time together.
Yes.
You know, God has blessed me with the ability to compartmentalize very well. So much so, if you were to ask me, like, what did I do today? I really have to think really hard to tell you.
That's why you don't remember
that
trip all those years ago.
That's why I don't remember the trip. Because I think and I try to give myself 100% in the space that I'm in.
Wow.
But once I leave that space, I really leave it. Like, I don't hang on to it. I really leave it, which helps me. Someone told me years ago that a good day and a bad day only has 24 hours. So whether it's a good day, it's 24 hours. Whether it's a bad day, it's 24 hours.
Yes.
And if you're having a bad day, go to bed. Like, help that day pass. And I think so when you talk about balance, I do think that's true, because everything has a level of tension to it. However, tension, and you put pulleys in place or you put other things in place, you find out that even though it's tension, it doesn't always have to be the pull and the strain. That tension and that energy really can be released in other ways.
Yes, yes. So, of course, we don't know what tomorrow holds or 10 years from now holds. So when you made the decision to select 𝘓𝘓𝘧𝘓𝘓, did you know then that she had the ability to help manage the weight of who you were becoming?
Probably not. However, one thing is that I was already in the ministry when we met, so she knew that going in. I believe God prepared her for our life and our lifestyle. I think God graces us for whatever the assignment is.
Absolutely.
Treva's voice calms me. Like, we have pillow talk at night, every night, and like, I just want to hear her talk. And if I can just lay there and hear her talk, I really know everything's okay. And one thing that we both say all the time, and that is, when all of this is over, like when limelight is cut off, and maybe Sean Dogan's name is not as, popular as it is now, like, as long as we have each other, like, we're okay. Like, one day I'll retire from the church, and, one day I won't be on all the boards that I'm on, or, whatever that life is. But she's so powerful. Like, she's an entrepreneur. She is educated. Like, the girl is bad. So
you struck gold.
I struck gold. I did well.
Yes, yes. So then, how did becoming a father change you?
Oh my goodness. God has a sense of humor, because I had wonderful parents. However, with having wonderful parents, my father had an issue, and drinking was his issue. And he was, my dad would give you a shirt off his back, kept a roof over our heads, wonderful man, like, taught me what I know and who I am, like, my manners and all that came from him. And the work ethic came from him. I've never known my daddy to just lay off work. He was going to take his birthday off, but that was about it. Powerful work ethic. Yeah. But drinking and alcohol probably ruined my parents' marriage. So the same year that I went into the ministry was the same year that my parents divorced. That was hard. but it wasn't hard while I was going through it. But looking back, it's like that had some challenges to it, right?
Absolutely.
And with that, and I guess this is where I'm going, is that with that and with those challenges, there are things that I wasn't sure I really wanted. So I didn't know. I knew I wanted to get married, but I didn't really know if I wanted kids.
Okay.
Because I was like, okay, well, what if this happens in life? What if that happens? My dad was a great man, but he wasn't real affectionate. Like,
Understood.
he wasn't going to say, I love you a lot. Yeah. So I was like, a kid, like they want to play, they want to do all these things. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. However, God has a sense of humor. Treva and I get married. 9 months later, 𝘓𝘓𝘧𝘦 comes to live with us, which is my wife's baby sister. Wow. 𝘓𝘓𝘧 was 5 years old at the time. Oh. And 𝘓𝘓𝘧 brought all kind of joy to our house, right? And so it was this, I don't know if I want to be a father, to 9 months after we get married, I'm this father figure.
Yeah.
A few years later, Terry comes and lives with us and is one of my wife's sisters. It wasn't until 5 years later that Treva and I actually had a child together.
Wow.
So, that's just one of those moments that, and how God develops who we are and matures who we are and changes even what we think we may or may not want in life.
So, thinking about you as a pastor, we have a video clip that I saw on social media.
Oh, mercy.
And I sent it to my videographer. I was like, can we play this during the interview? Because I got some questions.
Oh, mercy. Okay.
So we're going to bring up this video.
Let's get it ready.
And talk about all the things you have to do
oh, mercy.
As a pastor.
All right.
And all of a sudden,
so the young lady screaming, that's Ramaya.
Yes, because I got this off your wife's page, and she said, excuse the screaming, but my daughter was so excited. For one, I know how old you are.
Exactly.
I'm like, I went to a station. What preparation did you have to do to be able to do that? Even though I know that was about 5 years ago now, because I think you're only about a year younger than me, and I know 5 years ago it still would have took some effort for me.
We were still over 40.
Yeah, we were still over 40.
Yes. Yeah, so first of all, it took a lot of preparation. and the preparation was not on my end. The preparation was on Miss Miriam Burgess with Instruments of Praise, who's the dance group. It was on their end.
Okay.
So first of all, young people inspire me. The energy that young people have inspires me.
Yes.
And to see young people doing the things that they love to do, and especially if it's in the house of God or if it's expressing their faith, like I'm all for it, right? And during our Christmas, that was actually a candlelight service, our Christmas candlelight service, and at the end, Instruments of Praise came and they did the dance and we turned the lights on. And they would do this each year. And that song was one of my favorite songs to see them in motion with. And And with that, I told him, I said, one day, I said, y'all make me feel like I can do it. Y'all make me feel like I can do it. And so that particular year, Miriam Burgess called me and said, Pastor, I tell you what I think would be great at the end. And I said, well, first of all, I don't have the energy to go through the whole song. So if you notice, I come up at the last iteration of the song. But it was great. It was fun. And it made me feel like I was light on my feet. And then so part of that was just adrenaline. So the going down on the floor, coming back up, that's straight adrenaline.
That's what I'm like, he went down and got back up.
But did you notice I didn't go back down the second time? That's when I, do the prayer. And I told Mira, I said, now, if I get down and get up, I don't know if I can get down and get up again. And so it's fun. But wow, thank you for sharing that. That was fun.
Now, how long did you have to soak after getting down and getting
No. Advil, etc., whatever it was that Treva gave me afterwards, I appreciated it. And I did not do anything that next day. So yeah, so that was a good thing.
So as we get ready to conclude, one of the things, as we've already alluded to, is Life speaks of divine providence. And I was blessed 7 years ago to release my first book under that title, but it's become my life's mantra. I see God move in ways that if I tried to write it, I couldn't write the script that well. So I believe he does that for all of us in many ways. We just have to take note of it sometimes. So when you think of divine providence and a moment, an event, an encounter, something specific that you know that this was fully God's intervention. Sean could not have done this. He couldn't have wrote this script this well. What comes to mind when you think of Life Speaks?
Yeah. The thing that comes to mind is a funeral service in Charleston, South Carolina.
Wow. Okay.
At Royal Baptist Church. It was the funeral service of, at that time, the chair of our deacon's ministry, his mother. And myself, along with the pastor, Pastor Isaac Holtz, is walking down, bringing in a family. I get into the pulpit, and this has only happened to me very few times that I have literally heard the audible voice of God. I've had unctions. I know God's leading. I can read the scripture. I understand the Holy Spirit speaking to me, but I literally have heard the way I can describe as the voice of God. And so I'm standing in the pulpit, and I hear this voice that says, "Make more room." That's what I heard. And when I first heard it, I literally moved over. I thought someone
had come and said something to you.
Yeah, said something to me to tell me to scoot over. And I thought it was just their way of saying, make more room. And so I moved over, and I heard the voice again, make more room. And at that point, I knew it was the voice of God. But I didn't know what it meant. I picked up my Bible, and when I opened it up, I don't know how it got there. I don't know why it was there, but it was a yellow index card. And while the family is coming in, I sat down and I start writing out everything that I believe the Holy Spirit and God was telling me at that moment. I flip the card over, and it's blank, and I literally draw out the campus of Lone Branch. I drew the chapel, I drew the road, the parking lots, and how cars would come in and come out.
So this was Long Branch as it was at the time, or this is just what
Long Branch as it was at the time.
Okay.
And I have where cars would go in and out, but on the front side, I had literally wrote the script on how we were going to go to multiple services. And when God was telling me make more room, it was how we would go to multiple services.
Wow.
And I wrote out everything. It was a detailed listing. I came back to Greenville, met with my leadership. And at that time, they didn't understand it because we had a good crowd. I mean, church was pretty full. But as soon as we went to multiple services, We had to develop a parking lot ministry. We had to develop greeters. I mean, I literally wrote down all of the steps. We went to multiple services, and we've never looked back.
Wow. So your church attendance at that time, did it already constitute multiple services?
Did not.
Wow.
We might have been, when you look at percentages of capacity, we may have been at 80% maybe. But
for the one service.
For the one service. It was an 11:20 service, I think it was at the time. And we went to an 8 o'clock and an 11 o'clock service. And I even had how we would have breakfast in between, Sunday school, breakfast in between. I mean, the whole listing was there. We went to that, and the 8 o'clock service immediately filled up.
Wow.
Now, that 8 o'clock service is a 7:45 service, and now we have a 9:45 service, and then an 11:45 service.
Wow.
And I've always thought, if I would not have listened to the voice of God, where would we be?
Right.
If I would have just stayed with tradition, if I just would have stayed with, the status quo, and even if I would have just listened to the majority of probably our leadership at that time who didn't understand and didn't see it, and why should we do that, and that's going to cost more money, and that's going to do this, that's going to do that. They just didn't see it. And it really showed me that God really does speak to his prophet.
Yes.
He really does speak to his servant. And if we listen to the voice of God and trust that voice, no matter how good or how crazy or how unorthodox or whatever the term is, it sounds, if you just trust God in the way that he's designed for us to trust him, he works it out.
Yes. Oh, that was beautiful. To see and hear that you obeyed in the middle of a funeral.
In the middle of a funeral. Like God took me all the way to Charleston.
Right.
And I think that's just how God does it.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. He does things in such an unconventional way. And I will say another part or place that you have a special place in my life, and I'm going to try to say this without getting emotional, but you were my mom's pastor when she transitioned.
Yes.
And I still have the email that my sister sent to me, because at the time I was living in Columbia, and my sister sent me an email and was like, shocking news. Because, all we had known all our life was the church we grew up in. Yes. And she was like, Mama now is attending Long Branch Baptist Church. And I'm like, what happened? And so she was like, no, I don't think anything happened. She just went and started visiting and decided to join. And the way that we know that God does things that we know not of, and I don't know if you, now that you say you compartmentalize, you may not even realize it or remember. My mom joined your church less than 2 months before she transitioned.
Yes.
And so it makes me wonder, did she sense something? Did she know something for her to make that big of a change? And then less than 2 months later, she had gone to be with the Lord. But I remember you saying at her homegoing service, because, most of those times when you're sitting there, especially as the child of the person that is being commemorated or their life is being celebrated, you don't remember.
Sure.
You remember certain things. But I do remember you saying that her last service at church, she stayed for all 3 services. So I thank you for your yes. I thank you for your impact, because even people that are not directly connected to you per se under ministry, your life is touching their lives. So thank you for that. Thank you for being who you are. I think the last thing I'll say, if you had to, I love music, so if you had to name a song that would define this season of your life, what song would you say defines this season of your life?
So,
And then you used to sing a little bit, Sean.
A little bit. I don't know the name of the song, but it says, as I look back over my life,
yes,
and I think things over,
yes,
I can truly say,
yes,
that I've been blessed. I have a testimony.
Absolutely.
And I think that would describe the season. When I first started, I don't know what the testimony was because I didn't have lived experience, but now I have some lived experience. And I know that, one, God is a keeper if you want to be kept. I know that God really is a way maker. And I really do know that God, when God's favor is upon your life, it's really nothing the enemy can do to stop it.
Yes.
And I also know that you can't take any of it for granted.
Absolutely.
And that you have to be thankful. You have to humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. And in due season, he really will exalt you. Do the work, but let him be the work that you do.
Yes.
Right? Like just do him. Like, just keep out, like, love people and forgive people and let things go and really go after the things that God has for your life.
Well, I think I'm going to let that be the final comment. That was good. That was good. I was going to ask you, if you're doing so many things, like, how do you decide what you say yes to? But I think you've kind of answered that within what you shared. So thank you again so much. This again is Pastor Sean Dogan, pastor of Long Branch Baptist Church, husband of 𝘓𝘪𝘧𝘦, father of 𝘓𝘪𝘧𝘦, many things to the community here in Greenville, South Carolina. And I'm so grateful that I can call you friend and brother.
That's right.
So if you want to know how to connect with him, how to follow him, we're going to put his website up on the screen, Long Branch Baptist Church. There, from their website, there are other items there or pages there that you can connect with. Their Facebook, their Instagram. Is there anything else that you may have that you're attached to in the community that you would like to share?
Yes, so Long Branch has an app. You can go to either one of the stores, the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, and download Long Branch Baptist Church, and there you will get all of our information along with my sermon notes each week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Would love to connect that way as well.
Okay. So is there information about the app on the website, or if they just go to the Google Play or Apple App Store, they can just go search for Long Branch?
Yep, they can just go Long Branch Baptist Church. You'll see our emblem, which is a cross with a little branch at the bottom of the cross.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you again so much.
Well, thank you
for saying yes to this. It has meant so much to me to have you as my first official guest. And when we air these, you will be the first that is aired.
Good.
So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for connecting. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, connect to us on Facebook, tell a friend to tell a friend. We are celebrating stories of God's divine providence on the Simply Tammy show, specifically with our Life Speaks episode. So we want you to meet some amazing people, not just here in our local community, but even around the world, some people that we'll be talking to. So until next time.